My world shattered when my sister-in-law, Ashley, ripped away my dignity and publicly shamed my most vulnerable moment, a horrifying delivery all for a quick buck. Now, she's finally staring down a prison sentence for her unimaginable betrayal. Can you imagine trusting someone so completely, letting them into your most vulnerable moments, only for them to turn your deepest pain into a horrifying public spectacle and a cash cow? Because that's exactly what my sister-in-law, Ashley, did to me, and it landed her behind bars. Years ago, Ashley was obsessed with becoming an influencer. She had about 18,000 followers, but her engagement was terrible. She was constantly begging family members to be part of her content. I always said no. I value my privacy, especially when I was pregnant. I made it crystal clear. No footage of my birth, no baby shower, no pregnancy videos. My husband, Ryan, was totally on board, even helping me pick a hospital that didn't have weird recording limitations. Ashley, surprisingly, seemed to get it. She even laughed, "Your birth, your rules," and volunteered to wait outside during labor. Looking back, that was her first lie. My water broke at 1:30 a.m. Tuesday morning. Ryan called his family as we rushed to the hospital, and Ashley showed up an hour later with coffee, promising to keep everyone updated from the waiting room. At one point, transition labor hit Ryan so hard he was pale and overwhelmed. The nurse encouraged him to take a 5-minute break. I could barely speak through the pain, but Ashley stepped right in. "I'll stay with her," she said so calmly. I nodded, barely conscious. She held my hand, encouraged me through contractions. I remember feeling so grateful, so utterly dependent on her in that moment. She was there, alternating with Ryan, witnessing me at my absolute worst, shouting, wailing, completely exposed, pleading for it all to end. Our beautiful daughter, Ava, was born at 8 p.m. Ashley cried with us, took a few photos we allowed, and embraced me like she was part of something truly special. For weeks later, my phone exploded. Missed calls, texts, notifications. My stomach dropped when my mom messaged asking, "Did you see Ashley's post?" She said Ashley didn't actually film anything. My heart pounded. I opened the link. I cried. It was Ashley's viral video, titled, "My Sister-in-Law's Failed Birth." She had cameras everywhere, hidden in her handbag, her coffee cup, even her blouse. It was a 20-hour documentary showing everything. Full view, crowning shots, angles Ryan hadn't even seen. Me sobbing that I wanted to die. Screaming at Ryan that labor was his fault. The doctor graphically discussing my third-degree tear. Me defecating while pushing my body at its most vulnerable. The comments were cruel. People called Ryan, asking about the vaginal trauma. Someone had even made a meme from my crowning moment, a meme of my vagina. But the worst wasn't just the embarrassment. The absolute worst was finding out she'd made almost $60,000 in 3 weeks, selling the unedited film to a birth fetish website for $39.99 a pop. I rushed home, silent, just wanting to be quiet. Then I saw Ashley had uploaded more footage. I couldn't stop watching. My postpartum body, breastfeeding agony, bloody pads in the garbage. "Did you give Ashley permission for this documentary?" Ryan roared, slamming the door. I was numb. I called a lawyer. Ryan's mother called. "It's too late," I told her, my voice cracking. "It's everywhere, even on porn sites." Prime Media, a huge company, had acquired a new program based on it. They claimed I'd signed a release. A release signed the day I gave birth. I was stunned. Ashley, during transition, she'd handed me a clipboard. "Hospital needs this signed," she'd said. "Pain-induced delirium." I'd signed blindly. Ryan called Ashley, putting her on speaker. "It's just substance," she chirped. "Dramatic. All women give birth." Ryan was furious. "You sold her vagina footage." She brushed it off as educational material, increasing awareness. "She signed," Ashley insisted. "It's binding." My lawyer confirmed it. I just grabbed the phone. "Take it down, Ashley." or I swear, you can't ruin me and get away with it. That night, my nude body was displayed on the hospital's website for an ad. Strangers sent me DMs. I purchased your birth video. You were prettier pregnant. Stretch marks, though. Yikes. My wife fainted watching you push. Too graphic. Ashley, meanwhile, uploaded a sad video about us bullying her. Her fans called us envious, rude, controlling. A week later, my principal called. Parents had seen the tapes. I teach kindergarten. Ashley's act continued. She had even agreed to provide all birth footage for 2 years. My lawyer sighed. He said challenging the release form would take years. He showed me texts from Ashley, supposedly from me, asking her to film. Get everything. Our fame will increase, she'd written in an email, faking my identity. Proving she had my phone was possible, but difficult. Then, a nurse from the delivery room stepped forward. Emily. She'd noticed many concealed cameras and had been ignored by the hospital. We decided to file a joint lawsuit. A few days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Ava's mother? It was a producer from Netflix. We're doing a documentary on consent and social media abuse. We want exclusive rights to your story and to deconstruct Prime Media's claim. All I wanted was for the videos to be gone. We can make that happen, he said, but you need to see something first. He sent me a link to Ashley's private Instagram. My hands started to shake. For months, she'd been staging this. Slip her Tosin during her visit, one post read. Make my hands shake so violently I nearly dropped it. She drugged me to induce labor without consent to record it. Ryan, reading over my shoulder, went white. He grabbed his keys, ready to confront her. I stopped him at the door. We called David Mitchell, our lawyer. Netflix's privacy attorney told us we couldn't contact Ashley. This was beyond a privacy breach. It was assault. We needed law enforcement. That night, Detective Ramona Gilmore and another officer were at our house, taking screenshots of Ashley's Instagram. Ramona was stone-faced. Ashley faces multiple criminal charges for giving medicine without authorization, covert cameras, and exploitation. Before my water broke, Ashley had arrived at our home. What did she offer me? What did I eat or drink? I remembered the whole cup of herbal tea she gave me that afternoon for late pregnancy discomfort. I'd trusted her. Ramona, seeing Ryan's confirmation that he'd seen Ashley alone in our kitchen, suspected tampering. She took the teacup from our sink as evidence, though she warned identifying what was in it weeks later would be difficult. She immediately called the hospital for my medical data, contraction times, labor speed. Within an hour, under threat of a warrant, they disclosed the records. By midnight, Ramona and I were reviewing my file. The labor nurse's notes showed my contractions went from 0 to active labor swiftly. I'd thought my water broke normally, but Ramona said, Ashley chemically changed your body. You didn't realize. The next morning, David Mitchell and a forensic tech meticulously studied Ashley's posted films, frame by frame. Reflections in windows and mirrors showed Ashley adjusting her button camera. Metadata indicated she filmed for hours before I noticed I was in labor. We wanted to sue Ashley, Prime Media, and the hospital. David warned it would be grueling, but the evidence was stronger than most. That day, Ryan's mom, Linda, called, asking why police searched Ashley's apartment. She was confused, defensive. Ashley wouldn't drug someone. Ryan simply showed her the Instagram posts. After a long silence, Linda begged for proof. We emailed her screenshots. An hour later, she called, crying. I had no idea Ashley could deceive and violate like this. She promised to help. I could hear the sorrowful realization in her voice. Ashley was a predator. After the search warrant, they confiscated everything. Laptops, phones, cameras. The forensic tech found folders that made Ramona pause. Ashley wasn't just targeting me. She gained money by abusing other vulnerable, preoccupied women who didn't notice cameras. Dozens of folders, grouped by first names or nicknames, containing 2-year-old medical crises, Intimate procedures, sensitive moments. She'd sedated women at hospitals, clinics, dentists. My hands shook so much I had to put Ava in her cot. Ramona was trying to identify victims, but many names were just Sarah or Jess. Some might never know. Ashley chose me because I was connected to her. Ryan came home early, found me staring at my phone. Ava crying forgotten in her cot. He held the baby, listening to me recount Ramona's discoveries. When I mentioned 2 years of victims, his face went gray. His sister hadn't just made a mistake. An hour later, David reported the judge granted his emergency plea to freeze Ashley's bank accounts. The $60,000 she made from my footage was frozen until the criminal case was resolved. David requested an injunction for Prime Media to cease showing Ashley's program immediately. Prime Media's attorneys fought back, claiming a signed contract and release. But the criminal investigation changed everything. The court scheduled a hearing to determine if Prime Media's contract was fraudulent. David seemed pleased. Corporate stonewalling usually failed when misconduct was demonstrated. Ryan's mom called that night, her voice heavy with sorrow. Police are examining Ashley's conduct over time. Linda asked if Ashley could be helped. Ryan clenched his jaw. Ashley wasn't sick, Mom. She was calculated. The Instagram posts prove her thorough preparation for 2 years. Linda went silent. She finally saw the evidence, stopped defending a stranger. The next Tuesday, I had my 6-week postpartum hospital visit. Walking through those automatic doors squeezed my chest. This place. Ashley abused me here. The staff ignored Emily's warnings. Emily, the nurse, saw me outside the OB office. She was thinner than I remembered, in loose scrubs, looking worried. Her voice was nervous but determined. She led me to an empty consulting room. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice shaking. She'd recorded everything. Every hidden camera, every complaint to her boss, every dismissal by hospital administration. She had saved her nursing notes, suspicious emails, even photos of Ashley's button camera. Emily had been placed on administrative leave after speaking to the news, accused of breaching patient privacy. But she had everything backed up at home. She was eager to testify about the hospital's complete failure to protect me. "I should have removed her," she whispered. "Should have called security." Emily offered to connect me to the hospital's patient advocate. She warned me, though, that they usually sided with the institution. The advocate's office was nice, a corner room with windows overlooking the parking lot. The middle-aged woman in a blazer, with a frozen grin, directed me to sit, apologizing for my situation. She promised a policy review, but didn't report anything. She handed me a business card. All future contact must go through the hospital's legal department. Unfortunate situation, not violation. Reviewing protocols, not failure. Emily walked me back to the elevator, apologizing for the meaningless chat. She'd warned me, but the hospital's rejection was still devastating. Security had actually come before videoing my birth. 2 days later, James Thompson, the hospital administrator, formally responded to David. It was David's dream. The hospital's defensive, dismissive, and documented response. They claimed to follow all regulations, had no suspicion of illicit taping, and wouldn't address Emily's concerns. They couldn't explain why they posted my birth on their website without permission. David grinned. Stonewalling often wrecks defendants in court. This letter would look terrible when Emily testified about being suppressed. Juries hated organizations that covered up obvious mistakes. David immediately subpoenaed all hospital communications about my birth, administrator emails, staff meeting minutes, their decision to use my delivery for advertising. He argued the institution profited from my violation and failed to protect me. The following Thursday in the county courtroom, Ryan and I sat behind David, facing Prime Media's legal team, 3 expensive suited lawyers. The courtroom was smaller than expected, wood-paneled and formal. Prime Media's senior lawyer declared my release form mandatory, regardless of circumstances, showing my signature as proof. I'm an adult who signed a legal document. David spoke quietly but forcefully. He showed the court my transition films, me in agony, unable to speak. The judge was shocked. How could anyone say she understood what she signed in that state, she demanded. Prime Media's lawyer blustered, claiming birth was natural, and I should expect to be videotaped in a hospital as they were public places with lower privacy expectations. The judge interrupted him mid-sentence. Healthcare procedures require informed consent. Hidden cameras are rare. Patients have a right to privacy in critical medical settings. Stating otherwise is absurd. She immediately granted our injunction, stopping Prime Media's broadcasts and ordering them to store the film with the court unaltered. David clasped my shoulder as we left. I breathed for the first time in weeks. Ashley's lawyer called David that afternoon, seeking a plea agreement. David refused. Lawyers don't ask about plea deals when they can win. Later that evening, Ramona Gilmore confirmed the district attorney was drafting an indictment for drugging, unlawful recording, multi-count exploitation of personal photographs, and fraud, with more possibly coming from Ashley's other files. Ramona said Chandler Bright, the prosecutor, was building something thorough. After weeks of impotence, the criminal case was moving quickly. 3 days later, Olivia Scott called again, offering to capture everything for her Netflix series, retaining full editorial control. After Ashley, I was terrified of more cameras. David offered something we hadn't considered. Ashley said I was envious and unpleasant on social media. Her fans believed her. This documentary can tell your story. Ryan, his face in his hands, watched Ava sleep. The viral videos, the memes, the comments criticizing my body. Strangers had seen my weakest side. Controlling the story felt different. Reclaiming it might help me heal. David ensured our required protections were included. Olivia's contract was the best he'd ever seen. We signed that night. The next week, Olivia and her crew arrived. She sat in our living room, soft, non-clinical lighting, and asked us to tell what happened. Ryan gripped my hand as I recounted trusting Ashley, the hidden cameras, the viral film, finding out she drugged me. Olivia never stopped me, never deflected. She let me speak. My voice trembled when I said my finest moment was a meme. She stopped filming, asked if I wanted a break. I took 10 minutes, then pushed her to start again. I had to finish. She filmed for 3 hours, asking about the emotional, professional, and legal repercussions. Talking about it felt odd, but it helped. 2 days later, Ramona called about Ashley's confiscated files. She'd found 3 other women's identities with footage like mine. She wanted me to talk to one, Samantha Lewis. Samantha's voice quivered when I called. We met for coffee the next morning. Her hands trembled as she told me Ashley had injured her. At 16 weeks pregnant, Samantha had bled. Ashley, acting as a doula, attended her at the hospital. Samantha thought she was helping, but Ashley covertly recorded her miscarriage. Samantha, crying, the doctor informing her she'd lost the baby. Ashley sold it to a fetish website. 6 months later, someone recognized her and sent her the link. Samantha apologized for crying. I clasped her hand across the table. She'd been humiliated, never reported it. Family friend Ashley? Who would believe someone trusted to help women give birth would record and sell their trauma? She wanted to press charges immediately. Ramona confirmed this would help both our cases. Ashley's repeated behaviors showed premeditation and predatory actions. Ramona explained that another victim had moved out of state and wouldn't answer calls. The third, traumatized, couldn't testify. Ashley calculated and exploited weak women in medical situations when we couldn't protect ourselves. Samantha and I were vital. Samantha and I started chatting daily, sharing attorneys' queries, trauma triggers. Knowing someone understood made the process less lonely. My principal sought a cold, professional discussion about my position. Parents were concerned about the film. David Mitchell and I visited her office. 2 school board members were there. The principal claimed parents had contacted them constantly. David calmly showed police paperwork, the criminal investigation, proof I was drugged and videotaped. 1 school board member wanted to revoke my contract, citing the children's well-being. David warned them that firing me would be criminal punishment against a sexual exploitation victim, and schools had been sued for discrimination. The room quieted. The next week, I told my story to a dozen officials in a secret session. Some seemed anxious, others suspicious, as if I had done something wrong. Dying inside, I justified my right to teach because someone violated me. It felt like being abused again. David described Emily's hidden camera sightings. A board member asked how this hurt the school's reputation. David said punishing crime victims would tarnish their image more than supporting a competent teacher. We waited 2 hours. They called us in. The board ended my administrative leave. The principal seemed relieved, apologizing for the parents' responses. I kept my job, but fighting for it left me upset about how victims are treated. Returning to kindergarten felt unusual. 5-year-olds don't comprehend birth exploitation or viral videos. They just wanted to show me their drawings. Their innocence was healing. No one asked where I went. They were delighted I returned. I enjoyed teaching again. Work became my refuge. For 6 hours, I was not the viral birth mother. I was the fun teacher. Chandler Bright, the prosecutor, contacted me. Ryan and I visited his office. Chandler charged Ashley with 4 felonies, 3 misdemeanors: drugging assault, unauthorized filming, intimate image exploitation, and fraud. He believed the Instagram posts, forensic study, Emily's evidence, and Samantha's case proved a pattern. But he cautioned Ashley's counsel would try to paint her as a naive influencer. We told Chandler we were ready for trial, for public trauma, for facing Ashley. We wanted her to pay. Chandler agreed. The next morning, Ashley's TikTok and Instagram accounts were gone. Her lawyer had silenced her, but her admirers continued, branding me envious, accusing me of lying, trying to damage her career. Someone even petitioned to dismiss charges. Samantha sent me the hashtag 5 minutes later. I couldn't look, but she reminded me, proof, not online views, counts. Linda, Ryan's mom, wanted to visit Ava. Her voice was sad. Holding the phone, I felt fury and empathy. Part of me wanted to say no. You raised someone who poisoned me, who filmed my birth. But another part remembered her working with Ramona, appalled by her daughter's actions. Ryan took the phone. She deserves a chance, he said. She's losing her daughter to jail. She wants to see her grandchild. I consented with limits. She could see Ava, not hold her until I was ready. Linda arrived Saturday morning, 2 gift bags in hand, looking 10 years older. Trembling hands, red, swollen eyes. When she saw Ava in my arms, she cried, apologizing, saying she missed the signals. Never thought Ashley could be so mean. She gave baby clothes and cuddly animals, trying to atone for her daughter's sins. Ryan gently but firmly told her about Ashley's drugging and filming. Linda nodded, wiped her face. She couldn't fight anymore. I let her hold Ava for 5 minutes. She cried. David Mitchell called Monday with shocking news. His staff found emails from before I was pregnant, from over a year earlier, negotiating a birth content relationship with a fetish website. Ashley promoted her, unique access to expectant family members who could deliver victims. She mentioned money, video quality, camera camouflage. I'm having a sibling soon, she'd written. She'd been after me for months. Federal authorities were probing the website administrators for conspiracy and exploitation. This proves Ashley was a criminal organization, not just an influencer who made a stupid decision, David said. I hung up, sat on Ava's nursery floor. Almost a year. Every family meal, baby shower, every time she supported me, she plotted to drug and film my delivery for money. 2 days later, Ramona Gilmore called with my teacup forensic results. Ashley had concealed synthetic oxytocin, a medical-grade labor inducer, in my drink. She'd bought it months earlier from a veterinary supply business using fake credentials. Prescription drug use fraud. Physical evidence proved Ashley chemically altered my body to force delivery on her timetable. Ramona, a veteran detective, confessed, "How could someone hurt someone, especially family? This level of premeditation and treachery is unusual." Olivia Scott interviewed Samantha and me for the Netflix documentary. Olivia asked how Ashley targeted vulnerable people in medical settings. Samantha recounted how Ashley, a doula, sold her sadness. I emphasized the transgression of someone you trust exploiting your body at your weakest. Olivia listened closely, then asked about our power and activism, not just the suffering. I realized this video would help other victims. My therapist helped me navigate the grief. She called it convoluted sadness, losing my planned birth, Ashley's crimes irrevocably linked to Ava's arrival. I kept telling myself to be glad Ava was healthy, that the violation didn't matter. But my therapist said both could be true. Despite her broken birth, she helped me see Ava as wonderful, independent from the trauma. Every session was slow, brought tears, but also glimmers of joy. Emily wept over the phone one night. The hospital had slashed her shifts, put her on the worst rotation. They'd written her up twice for minor things. Punishment for uncovering the hidden cameras. David added her case to our lawsuit against the hospital, arguing they penalized a whistleblower. Emily was scared her nursing career would be wrecked, but she'd do it again. I couldn't remain silent after what happened to you. I told her she was braver than anyone. On a cold March morning, Ryan, Samantha, Ramona, and I sat in the rear of the courthouse for Ashley's arraignment. Ashley seemed smaller than in her social media videos. Her voice faint. She was ordered to repeat not guilty after 4 accusations were read: assault, unauthorized recording, exploitation. If found guilty, 12 years in jail. Bond was set at $75,000. Her parents promised their house within an hour. Linda signed the forms, hands shaking, looking sorrowful. Ashley was released with strict conditions. No social media, no victim contact. GPS bracelet, passport surrender. She nodded at each request, never looking at us. 2 days later, David Mitchell invited us to his office. Ryan and I went silently, Ava dozing in her car seat. David's aide led us to a paper-filled conference room. David stopped Ryan, holding up a document, for $150,000 from the hospital to settle the civil lawsuit. We'd have to sign an NDA. David reclined. Refuse it. He said we had enough evidence to win more at trial, but an NDA would silence us forever. I looked at the page. $450,000. It would pay off the house, start Ava's education fund, cover medical expenses. But I thought of Emily risking her job and other women giving birth there, unknowingly compromised. I pushed the paper across the table. Ryan nodded. We decline. David grinned. Exactly what I expected. We're ready for trial. 3 weeks later, David's paralegal brought hospital documents into his office. Emily wasn't the first nurse to object to delivery room footage. Administration disregarded a visitor with numerous phones, a lady adjusting a camera in her purse, a family member suspiciously leaving and returning. David excitedly spread the paperwork. The hospital ignored privacy warnings. David added systemic negligence to his claim. Hospital representatives sought another settlement meeting within 48 hours. David said we'd consider their offer after they removed James Thompson, the administrator, and established new privacy precautions. Within a week, they agreed. They knew a jury would punish them for valuing reputation over patient safety. Then Ashley breached her bond. She made a fake TikTok account and uploaded victim videos. Case fans understood the messages. Ramona Gilmore called 20 minutes later, having located the account within 48 hours. Ashley's bond included social media monitoring. The next morning, Ashley appeared in an orange jumpsuit for bond revocation. Her lawyer claimed she didn't understand the social media prohibition on hidden accounts. The judge interrupted. Social media promoted Ashley's career. Ashley cried, holding her parents as the bailiff took her away. Chandler visited us in his office, presenting a plea arrangement. Ashley would acknowledge 2 crimes, dropping the others. 5 years in jail, no quibbles. A trial might result in 12 years. Samantha asked Chandler what to do. He remained mute, then cited the drugging, premeditation, and Instagram posts as proof. Chandler and I met again the next week to make our final decision. The firm owner who abused vulnerable women required more than 5 years. Samantha and I looked at each other. Ashley's attorney said she needed therapy, not incarceration, for social media addiction. They showed her crying, apologizing. Chandler responded with planning paperwork, drugging proof, many victims. He would prove this was premeditated exploitation. But judges were human, made emotional choices. They might see Ashley as a misguided young woman. Samantha spoke first. 5 years is excessive for what she did to me at my lowest point. I agreed. Ashley exploited women in medical difficulties and violated our privacy. 5 years wasn't fair. We persuaded Chandler Bright to reject the plea offer. He nodded. Chandler and David coordinated criminal and civil cases. Ashley's tapes had to be evaluated without watching. Trial was 8 weeks away. Chandler's paralegal detailed each file and I checked. Exam film showed me completely exposed. Close-ups of crowning, shouting I wanted to die. Ryan held my hand through every review of Ashley's heist. Some nights I couldn't sleep, worrying about strangers watching. My body sold on fetish websites. Ava learning about her birth. My evidence was crucial. Olivia Scott's Netflix team filmed our trial prep. Strategy conversations, witness prep, the emotional toll. Olivia interviewed experts. A psychiatrist on consent capacity, a tech specialist on Ashley's sophisticated cameras, a victim advocate on psychological effects. Olivia interviewed other digital abuse victims, shattered families, and how courts failed to address crimes that didn't exist 20 years ago. Samantha Lewis's case proceeded as my felony case went to trial. Ashley was charged with many crimes for unlawfully documenting her miscarriage. Ashley's attorney offered 7 and 8 years in plea deals. We refused Chandler's new offer. Her lawyer was frantic. We didn't want to aid her. She drugged and recorded my delivery. Chandler and Ashley's lawyer questioned jurors for 3 days. Chandler rejected pro-influencer, anti-social media, and anti-medical jurors, seeking those who understood online culture but wouldn't buy Ashley's addiction defense. Our jury, a retired teacher, software engineer, nurse, construction worker, accountant, store manager, bank teller, mechanic, social worker, librarian, sales rep, and dental hygienist. Chandler was pleased. Monday, trial began. Samantha sat next to Ryan and me. Linda sat opposite with Ashley's lawyer. Everyone stood as the judge emerged. Ashley entered in modest attire, looking innocent and youthful. She sat without looking at us. Chandler began his opening address, revealing how Ashley secretly turned my birth into a business transaction. Months of planning on private Instagram, covert cameras, Tosin drugging to control my labor, delivery room camera locations. He showed the jury Ashley's Instagram posts about Project Birth, calling it a military operation. The jurors were appalled. Chandler pledged to show Ashley's premeditated exploitation. Some jurors looked disgusted with Ashley. The next morning, I shivered in the witness room with David Mitchell. Chandler returned, encouraging me to face the jury directly. Ryan grabbed my hand before they called me in. The courtroom seemed huge as I took the stand, swearing to the truth. Chandler gently asked about my relationship with Ashley. I told him I trusted her, that she held my hand during my worst pain. He asked about the release. Paperwork. I remembered the clipboard, thrown at me during transition. Dazed and blind. I broke down when he asked when I first discovered the videos, reliving seeing my most vulnerable moment aired to millions. He guided me through each offense, hidden cameras, fetish website crowning memes. I held it together until he asked how I felt after Ashley drugged me. Explaining that she used my body to produce material brought tears to my eyes. I shakily added, "Every time I see Ava's birth photographs, I remember covert cameras photographing my nude body for sale and viewing." The jury sat silent. Ashley's lawyer aggressively cross-examined me, accusing me of exaggerating. Brian Mitchell had prepared me. I kept my cool, correcting each false statement. I calmly explained Ashley had offered to stay with me during a contraction, that hidden cameras are there for a reason. The lawyer asked if I'd benefited from publicity, if my social media following had risen, if I'd gained money. Becoming a meme while crowning is not beneficial, I told the jury. Strangers buying my vagina film is not an opportunity. I didn't want attention. I was fighting to keep my teaching job because parents saw me at my worst. I'll never forget having my most vulnerable moment stolen and sold. No amount of following or attention can undo this. The lawyer asked more questions, but I wouldn't let him distort my words. I spoke the truth. My legs felt like rubber as I stepped down. Emily testified next, in a modest dress, gripping her hands tightly. She described Ava's birth with precision. Chandler asked when she first noticed something odd. Emily said she saw Ashley change something on her blouse that looked like a camera lens, the coffee cup at a suspicious angle, the pocketbook with a hole looking at me. Her voice rose as she described her supervisor dismissing her concerns, telling her to focus on her job. Patients have a right to privacy during medical procedures, she argued. An older juror shook her head in disdain as Emily described being silenced by institutional interests, watching a patient be violated while her concerns were ignored. Emily was sanctioned for speaking to the media. Chandler asked if she documented her fears. Emily produced a folder of timestamp notes, listing each camera she'd seen, each time she tried to interfere. Medical personnel observed the infringement in real time. Samantha Lewis testified after lunch. She met Ashley at a pregnancy loss support group. Ashley volunteered to be her doula. Sam broke down, recounting her 16-week miscarriage. Ashley, holding her hand, promising to assist. 6 months later, Samantha received a link to a fetish website selling her miscarriage tape. The jurors were horrified. Samantha told Chandler about the hidden cameras, sensitive medical times, violation of trust. Ashley befriended vulnerable women, then abused their sensitive moments during medical procedures. After showing the tosin in my teacup, Ashley's fake veterinarian credentials, and the chronology showing my labor began within hours of drinking her tea, the prosecution rested. Ashley's lawyer shuffled papers, looking distraught. Brian Mitchell anticipated Ashley would testify. Her narcissism wouldn't let her stay silent. She looked young and innocent in a soft pink sweater, minimal makeup, a ponytail. She cried, shook, apologizing for being caught up in influencer culture, claiming she was drafting birth education papers and thought I'd like it. Chandler Bright had actually read the Project Birth Instagram posts during cross-examination. The jury was torn. Ashley was portraying herself as a victim. When Chandler asked about the veterinarian supply fraud and fetish website encounters, Ashley mumbled that she panicked and aired it, claiming she didn't know the site's kind. Chandler produced emails from Ashley about content categories and pricing. He cut down every explanation until Ashley sobbed on the stand, revealing her premeditation and intentional brutality. After Ashley resigned, the defense called a social media addiction specialist. He testified that her compulsive need for online acceptance impaired her decision-making like a gambling addiction. Chandler's 30-year psychiatrist gently refuted this. Ashley's premeditation wasn't caused by addiction. Compulsion doesn't take months to arrange an exploit. She described deliberate acts, fake credentials, hidden camera purchases, fetish website talks. Someone was using vulnerable ladies for profit. When the psychiatrist stressed that Ashley's conduct was antisocial personality traits, not addiction, and that her tears were manipulation, several jurors nodded. I had hope. Chandler testified Friday afternoon that Ashley drugged me to control when my daughter was born to acquire better material. The courtroom was packed. Every piece of evidence, witness testimony, Ashley's intentional cruelty was investigated. Chandler pleaded with the jury to punish Ashley for every decision, every violation, every life she damaged for online fame and money. Ashley's counsel portrayed her as young, misled, seeking sympathy. But his cries for compassion for someone who'd shown none seemed hollow. The jury deliberated for 7 hours. Ramona Gilmore assured us the long deliberation meant they were taking the charges seriously. The verdict call came around 6 p.m. The judge entered. The 60-year-old retired teacher, the foreperson, steadily held the verdict form. First count, unauthorized recording, guilty. Second count, intimate image dissemination, guilty. Linda wept across the aisle as her daughter was convicted on all charges. Ashley cringed. The judge thanked the jurors. For the first time since this nightmare began, I thought justice might prevail. Chandler called 2 days later to discuss sentencing. He asked me to submit a victim impact statement. I spent the next week drafting, emphasizing Ashley's theft without sounding vindictive. Therapy, phone panic attacks, knowing hidden cameras taped Ava's birth, the fight for my job, the memes, strangers who bought the film, and how she drugged me, taking away my choice over when and how my child was born. Brian Mitchell thought my statement was forceful and honest. Ashley appeared wearing the same modest clothing, her cheeks puffy from crying. When the court requested my statement, I shakily proceeded to the platform. I told Ashley how she made my most painful time into entertainment. I kept my calm as I mentioned that Ava's birth photographs make me tremble because hidden cameras were shooting my exposed body. I told the judge Ashley chemically controlled my body to generate content, stopping me from selecting when and how my child was born. Parents saw my rawest self on their phones, so I struggled to educate. I informed them others had seen parts of me Ryan hadn't, that my crowning moment became a meme shared by thousands. This violation will damage my safety and trust forever, even if the videos disappear. Ashley cried without looking at me, jerking her shoulders. Samantha Lewis then took the stage to discuss her 16-week loss. Shivering but strengthening, Ashley, disguised as a doula, secretly recorded her biggest loss, which she rediscovered 6 months later on the same fetish site. Samantha disclosed medical trauma, treachery, and pregnancy loss profiteering as the judge moved closer, worried. Samantha stared at Ashley after finishing. I hope jail teaches her that suffering isn't content. The courtroom was quiet. The judge spent many minutes reviewing sentencing guidelines and Brian Mitchell's evidence binders. She said the premeditation, drugging, serial victim exploitation, and sale of personal material showed predatory behavior, not bad judgment. The penalty, 12 years in prison, release. After 8 and lifelong sex offender registration for distributing personal photos without consent, Ashley's attorney immediately asked the judge to reconsider. The sentence exceeded the plea agreement, but the judge ruled the aggravating elements justified it. Ryan's arm wrapped around me as the words hit me. Brian Mitchell walked us to his car without speaking while reporters watched Ashley and Linda cry as the bailiff arrested them. 2 months later, the civil trial against the hospital began. Brian Mitchell utilized Emily's evidence, administrators' disdain for recording objections, and expert testimony on patient privacy standards to prove hospital negligence. After 5 days, Brian won. Emily found the hidden cameras, contacted her supervisor, and was told to mind her own business. Emily had taken detailed, contemporaneous notes of every interaction. When the hospital's lawyers tried to portray her as prejudiced or seeking publicity, Emily was calm and accurate. She showed emails expressing concerns before any backlash. Brian called 3 other nurses who'd reported unusual recordings in earlier births. Their evidence showed administrative disregard for patient privacy. The hospital administrator rejected Emily's concerns, seeming uncomfortable when Brian asked why family dispute trumped patient safety. The jury viewed film of my birth on the hospital's advertising website, heard testimony about how quickly they capitalized without my consent. Brian concluded that hospitals must protect vulnerable people. After 11 hours, the jury found breaches of patient privacy, whistleblower retaliation, and no filming, totaling $2.1 million in compensation and punitive damages. Emily received $400,000 for career loss and revenge. Brian wasn't concerned when the hospital appealed. The evidence was overwhelming. 3 weeks later, Prime Media's attorneys offered Brian a settlement. No broadcast plans, an unknown advocacy fee, and permanent deletion of all material. The settlement figure was enough to sustain years of agitation for other victims. I signed with relief. Federal authorities arrested the fetish website operators for conspiracy to exploit personal photos and transmit non-consensual data. Ashley had deliberately recruited to covertly record vulnerable women during medical procedures. To avoid trial, the owners committed to permanently remove exploitative content, reimburse victims, and assist with similar website investigations. Olivia Scott's Netflix documentary, airing 6 months after Ashley's imprisonment, was 90 minutes long, focusing on systemic issues. Olivia interviewed legal experts on medical privacy gaps, medical ethicists on informed consent, and social media exploitation victims. Samantha and I were featured, but Olivia followed our filming and framing choices. It began with facts about non-consensual intimate image sharing, then used our experiences to highlight how social media fosters violation and how institutions prioritize reputation over victim safety. Reviews called it vital. State lawmakers and advocacy organizations approached us to create medical privacy regulations. Social media users commended us for speaking out. Our tragedy wasn't just entertainment, it was meaningful. My compensation money helped me form the Medical Privacy Legal Fund, representing healthcare victims of intimate picture exploitation for free. Samantha Lewis became co-director. Brian Mitchell found pro bono attorneys. Our victims' rights tools, guidance, and legal papers healed better than therapy. Every victim felt like we were seizing Ashley's power, transforming our violation into help. In 6 months, we helped 43 victims. Several cases involved hidden delivery filming or non-consensual medical treatments. Each narrative showed how widespread this violation was, how many suffered in silence. After Ashley's imprisonment, Linda felt terrible. I joined Ryan and his parents in family therapy. Linda confessed to questioning me, making excuses, bailing Ashley out. The therapy helped her manage complex emotions without blaming me. Trust would take time. She held her ground, focused on Ava without demanding more than I was comfortable offering. She became a loving grandma who attended Ava's milestones, babysat, bought meaningful gifts. When Linda wept watching Ava blow out candles at her 2nd birthday party, I realized I was starting to separate Linda from Ashley's behaviors. She didn't commit the crimes. We were creating something new, sustainable, though never as close. The nursing director at a nearby hospital hired Emily. Emily now teaches nurses nationwide about patient privacy. Her selection to our Legal Funds Advisory Board helped us understand healthcare systems and institutional barriers. She risked everything, but had no regrets. Her bravery inspired other doctors to report. 2 years after her birth, I was teaching again, organizing the legal fund with Samantha, watching my kid become a joyful toddler who didn't understand what happened. I still shuddered when people pulled out phones, had dreams about hidden cameras, felt terrible reading Ashley's name in court documents. But I built a life around the tragedy. Our legal fund helped over 200 victims. Our documentary influenced 4 state laws. Ryan and I had grown closer. After such a violation, we wanted another child, the personal, sacred experience we'd been denied. We'd switch hospitals, tighten limitations, and trust our birthroom visitor instincts. I smiled back as Ava grinned from her blocks. Healing isn't about erasing or denying. The violation altered me. A part of me will always be in that delivery room, wondering how someone I trusted could betray me so completely. But I've built something meaningful from the wreckage, and I am moving forward.